One of the undoubted stars of the opening round of the BoyleSports Irish Derby was Sonic, beaten favourite in last year's final. 29-12 last week. Tonight, once again scoring, but had to work considerably harder. And the honour of going fastest went to Good News. An enthralling night thus far, or tonight, Kevin. We've seen some fine displays, but no real massive run like last week.
Yeah, no times, but there was some good runs and good performances there tonight. Sonic, I know the clock wasn't outstanding, but after the bump he took at the first bend to still manage to win that race, and there was good dogs in front of him, was a very, very impressive display. Good News putting down a marker. He's been in the wars in his last couple of starts, but he had his box tonight and he made the most of a quick start. So look, plenty of good dogs gone through. The clocks aren't there, but we won't worry about that.
Indeed. We'll start from the start as always. Me Fat Daddy. I backed this fellow without dogs last week. He folded to nothing once he was led. Tonight, no such thing. Popped out, made every inch of the running. Siderian Fern again running a heart out in second, but had no answer to Me Fat Daddy. He's not the youngest dog in the competition, but he's certainly a dog lightly enough raced, and he's going the right way. He's running very well.
He is, and look, he had his box again tonight, and I actually quietly fancied him tonight. I thought if he could just hold Impressive Guy to the corner, which he duly did, I thought he would run a big race. He's always threatened to have those kind of runs. He showed it in Kilkenny. He's no slow coach in Kilkenny. He's very, very prolific around Kilkenny, and he transformed that form to here tonight. So once he starts, he's a different animal, and from the red box, if he's in the red box in the next round, he'll be a big player again. But Dinny Lennon, you can never rule out Dinny, whether it's track or field, of course, winning the BoyleSports course in Derby as well a couple of years ago. So a great win for local enough family to me.
Indeed, and Siderian Fern, nearly the most inexperienced runner in the Derby, left, ran well in second as I said, but had no answer to the winner.
No, and she's had to put back-to-back big performances in now. She's really, really gutsy, and you can tell she's trying for everything she has going down the back. And also Impressive Guy, who didn't get the lead tonight but showed good battling qualities to qualify. So Graham Holland had two runners in that race, got the two of them through, but Me Fat Daddy landing the spoils.
Indeed. On now to the second heat of the night, and here we saw Burnt Beans producing a very determined display out front, but the key was the early speed. This fellow missed the kick last week, flew into the corner, took a wallop. Tonight came away level, got the corner, cut off trap one Crinkle Jake, and once doing so, cut off trap two, should I say, drive on tip on the corner. Once doing so, was going to take some catching, but Native Chimes put some run in down the back straight. It was a sensational display by the runner-up, but Burnt Beans a very impressive winner.
Yeah, very, very impressive, and he showed what he can do. Look, this dog was very impressive in Clonmel in his debut, and he looked a superstar then. He showed it again tonight. It was a really, really impressive, because drive on tip is a rocket to the bend, and when Burnt Beans got up, once he trapped, he was always going to make the corner. And from when he was going to make the corner, when he cut the bend, it looked as though the race was over. He was a couple of lengths in front of the second bend, and like you said, Native Chimes huge pace into the third bend. I thought he was going to catch him, but Burnt Beans, once he straightened up the home straight again, he had a little bit left in the tank. He kicked on to a 9.56, a very, very good run, and Ian Riley's got a very, very good pup on his hands there.
In terms of the first three home, one of the stronger heats, you'd imagine these three greyhounds will fancy their chances of going at least another round or two.
Yeah, they will, and they'll all be pretty hot in the betting in their next heats, provided they get reasonable draws. There are three big guns, and there were the three big guns in that race, and fantastic that they all qualified.
Speaking of big guns, the biggest gun tonight for the bookmakers was Lolo's Framptons. This one 33-1 tonight. I had 66-1 on the card, and I genuinely thought I was going to put 100s, but I didn't want to insult the owners. I thought it had absolutely no chance. What do I know? Got to the corner. JT Dutch obviously drifted off the corner. He's feeling stuff, there's no question about that. But Lolo's Framptons actually ended up a deserving winner, 29.70. I know there was a bit of bumping and barging in behind, but the way this fellow ran to the line, it was going to take a decent effort to catch him.
Yeah, definitely. Like 29.70 for an A2. Like, he is graded A2. He surely must be the lowest grade of all the dogs that were left in the Derby. And to do that run, there was no fluke about it. Popped out, made the bend. Took a little bump off Dutch when they came out. The two of them came together after a couple of strides, but once he straightened up, he was gone. And I know there was bumping in behind, but like, he wasn't stopping in front. And 29.70, he's only 2 lengths off Burnt Beans, like, on the clock. So like, what more can you say? Like, a massive run from that runner. Definitely the surprise of the night. Definitely helped us out. Staying on Mr. Rossi and Javilenko, both of those. It looked a race for me on paper that was. It looked there could be a surprise, because Javilenko, well, Lolo's Framptons I thought lacked a bit of early pace. Minor Mike is a stayer, Droopy's de Rossi's a stayer, Slippery Louise has got reasonably good early pace but runs over 6 bends. It was a race on paper that if you did pop out, you could grab by the scruff of the neck, and that's exactly what happened. And no fluke for Lolo Framptons. Even if there was trouble in behind, I don't think they would have caught him.
Yeah, certainly not. Droopy's de Rossi will be better off in a race where there is early speed, where he can hunt them in behind and then finish with a flourish. He may go another round or two again.
Yeah, the type of those dogs always seem to go a couple of rounds, and there will be one or two. And Javilenko, a young dog, staying on as well. The two of them lack early pace, but like you said, they'll be more suited by a couple of early pacers. If there's a bit of bother up front, they'll be staying on strong.
Yeah, the really unlucky one was Minor Mike. He looked an absolute certainty to be a close second, if not get close enough to the winner, but was stopped in his tracks at the third bend when making up serious ground. On now to the next heat, Heat 4, and here, typical Ash. This dog bought at the sales last year, the National Greyhound sales, for $3,500, and here we are a year later after winning his first two round heats, first round and second round heats of the BoyleSports Derby, and there was no fluke about it. Came away a bit better than he normally does, showed good early speed, got to the front, and once doing so, that was that.
Yeah, it took me a bit by surprise, and a dog can often ping the brake, even a slow start can often ping the brake, but he went to the corner really impressively. There's probably not a whole lot of early pace in the race apart from Droopy's Piet, but typical Ash flew to the bend tonight for me. A big dog, 79-pound weight. And the sales run again tomorrow, so I'm sure there'll be a couple of people coming up looking to try and pick one. And Vardy as well came out of sales, a dog running fierce well down in Cork, so they can be found. It's just a matter of finding them. But Jerry Holian, he doesn't run them in the Derby for the crack. We know that. He's a very shrewd trainer, and he must have thought something of this dog bringing him up here. But one of the most impressive runs for me, well, surprising runs, because I didn't think he had that early pace. Very impressed with that tonight, and you run out with superlatives for Cable Bay. I don't think I've ever seen a dog like him that can consistently miss the break, consistently be out the field, and just continue to qualify. He'd be a dream to own, and you just know he's going to be knocking on the door. Every time you see him in against you in a race, you nearly mark off one of the qualifying spots, and you're down to 2 to qualify, because he just finds a way. He just always seems to find a way. Kiss and Hug for me last week was very disappointing. I didn't know whether he was 100%. I was intrigued to see him run tonight. Ran much better tonight. I thought Graham has obviously done a big job on him to get him back, because he's a dog with serious ability. He's still not at his best, but much improved from last week.
Of those in this heat, though, typical Ash is certainly the one to take out of it.
Yeah, well, I tell you, Cable Bay will keep qualifying.
He certainly might. On now to the next race, which was Heat 5, and this went to Sonic. It was far from simple. We saw Bucco's Dream showing the devastating early speed. They got to him early enough tonight. JT Barracuda was sort of on his heels at the third bend, and thereafter the sort of writing was on the wall for Bucco's Dream, but it was Sonic that came through. He must have been 8 or 10 lengths off the pace entering the back straight after edging in on the first corner, taking a bump, coming from fourth. But I suppose at the third bend you still thought he was going to win. The power this dog has. Yeah,
definitely. Very impressive. He's got it all. He's got it all. However, the one little thing I have is when he's in a race where there is early pace, and if he's out in 6, he might be able to stay out of the trouble. But we saw it again from tonight from 4. He just eased a little bit going into the bend, and that could be the problem. When a dog tends to ease going in there, they can find themselves in no man's land, and like tonight, you can take a bad bump. We know he's the ability to recover. He's proven it again tonight. Like Bucco's Dream last week, we were talking about saying he was very impressive, and he had all the ability in the world. Like he must have lost 6 or 7 lengths. Sonic. He still picked him up, and he beat him quite easily. I was a bit surprised. I thought Bucco's Dream would have stayed going a little bit longer, to be honest. Barracuda had him caught by the third bend. I thought Bucco's Dream would have definitely held him the rest of the way, and at least until the home straight after the trouble that Sonic got. Just slightly a little bit disappointed there. And yeah, look, Sonic, he's all the ability in the world. My little niggle I'd have is when there's early pace, he can't afford to just slightly ease going to the bend. I know he's probably watching for the dogs, but that might just come again in the later rounds.
Still deserves to be well up in the betting, though, doesn't he?
Oh, he has to be in the top 2 or 3. He's as fast as anything that's in it. He just needs to be lucky.
Indeed, Sonic, of course, beaten favourite in last year's Derby final, has the history, and certainly at his favourite track, Shelbourne Park. On now to Heat 6, and here Droopy's Noah. I was disappointed with this fellow last week, having been impressed with him the previous time he'd run here. Tonight, it was back to normal service, flashed out of traps once he got to the rails. He was never going to give up that pitch, and to be honest, they struggled to get anywhere close to him. Swithin's Bray was the favourite. He does tend to break better from the middle. We saw it tonight. He's doing that 350 odd, I'd say, into the opening split. It's not going to be good enough going forward. I'd say Peter Crone is hoping this dog will start getting trap 3, trap 4 perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a fair statement. He did do a decent enough sectional from 1 last week, but I think you're right. I think he would prefer a middle pitch. He's got a very good run from even trap 5 there on his card at the back end of last year, so a middle draw would be more suitable. But Droopy's Noah, only having his 8th race tonight now, he's a 50% strike rate, having won 4 races. He's only 5 spots off the fastest time of the night. Very impressive. Blitz to the corner, much more like it from a starting perspective, and like that, with that early pace, if he can continue to do that, he's potentially going to go plenty more rounds. I was very impressed with Bannock Tig, actually. I had this down for a bit of an early pace merchant, but for me, brilliant running from the second bend. He was closing on Swithin's Bray. I didn't think he would, and he did. Another one that Jerry Holian has, like I said, Jerry wouldn't put him in the Derby for the crack, and he could go plenty more rounds. But Droopy's Noah might only be 66 pound weight, and as a dog he's very small, but a heart of a lion.
Yeah, and indeed, like pedigree, Ballymacesky, Droobies Hilda, both, you know, Ballymacesky a very strong running greyhound, and Droobies Hilda, she's thrown nothing but real strong running dogs, but yet this dog flashed out of traps, and it seems to be from the front is where he wants to do his running.
Oh yeah, it has to be from the front. I think he might struggle if he's in behind, but with that kind of early pace he showed tonight, he's going to be in front more times than he'll be behind.
The aforementioned Good News was up next, and here we saw the sad side of Dream Dude. He pulled up off the second bend. He finished the race, but it was clear there was something up. We won't know for a day or two, I'm sure. Perhaps muscular, I don't know, to be honest. It seemed to be behind, but Good News didn't flash the lids, but when he's on that fence, he has that chance to recover. He's going to have to find his trapping boots, but tonight, into the corner, even where Dream Dude was, I still thought Good News was going to win the race.
Yeah, no, I think the race was pretty much over when they were going about 10 yards from the bend. Even if Dream Dude had went around, I think Good News would probably prove a bit too strong from him. He's been threatening to do this. He's had a little bit of a bump in the last couple of runs, and I think Pat was maybe getting a little bit frustrated with him. They went to Dundalk for the International, that didn't work out, flopped out of the boxes, took a bit of a bump in the Champion Stakes, took a big bump here last week, and we talked about how well he ran in behind Sonic, because Sonic didn't pull further clear than him after the trouble. So he's been threatening to do this run from the red jacket. He was my banker tonight. I really fancied him tonight, and it turned out that way. There was a bit of trouble at the first bend, and it made life a little bit easier for him, but for me the race was over going to the corner. Very sad sight to see Dream Dude. He was really running very well for Ian Riley, and after the elation of burnt beans earlier, there was a real disappointment there with Dream Dude. I'd say he looked pretty badly hurt behind. Alright, Haybound for Peter Cronin, a surprise runner there, massive price, managing to finish second. And Lemon Pete, very prolific runner with almost 20 wins from only 38 races, so a very good dog, but a big price. So there was a couple of here going through, a bit of surprises, but no doubt about the winner. Good News, and he's landed. And listen, this dog was the talk of the country last year as a pup, and we down in the Concorby we thought he was favoured for the Derby, I'm pretty sure, nearly at one stage. So he's got all the ability in the world. He seems to have just went under the radar because he hasn't been let loose recently. He's a track record holder in Tralee and stuff like that, so he's back, and trust me, if he keeps getting one or two, he's a massive player in this competition. Yeah, certainly Pat will be hoping that he keeps getting that red jacket, because it takes out the doubt with him. You know he's probably going to get around the corner if he's in red, and that's the key with him. Yeah, similar to Sonic. Like, that's why I think Sonic is better out in 6. He can mind himself. Same for Good News in 1. When they're not the consistent pingers and they can tend to find themselves in the pack, you either want to be on the inside or you want to be on the outside. You don't want to be landing in the middle in no man's land like we talked about. So I think the trap draws will be very much key to him. And on to the final heat of tonight, the last of the opening session of second round heats of the Derby. And here, fresh from the sesh, he's not easy to commentate on, but he's a fair greyhound. Although tonight, a bit of a surprise, he was led to the corner by Saunders Dash. 29.80 is not going to be good enough. There's no question he can go a bit better, but you want to just sharpen up with traps, I think. Yeah, definitely. I was really impressed with this dog in England, and I was impressed with him in Dundalk. And he didn't trap tonight, and he hasn't trapped over here. He hasn't trapped here yet. But he took a pretty bad bump at the first bend, and he shrugged it off, and he ran really well. Look, clocks don't necessarily matter, but you're right, he is going to need to improve if he's any aspirations to win it. Droopy's Harbour, for me, I was really taken with this bitch. This bitch's clocks and yawl, and even up here to an extent, are sensational. She hasn't trapped here. She looked a miss here last week. I was surprised by her last week. Very poor display, finishing back in 5th, but the beauty of the 5 going through, she lined up here tonight. She still missed the break, went to the bend better, flew down the back, was gaining on fresh from the session the whole way to the line. And if this bitch can show the early pace that we know she has and starting, there's a massive run in her, I feel. A better draw, maybe in 1 or 2 or even 3, and if she starts, she can do a 4:30 odd sectional up here, and if she turns the corner, I think there's a 29:40, 29:50 run in her. I really do believe that. And Fane Sue for Martin Sharkey going through again, qualifying another likely race sort at a big price, and might just keep qualifying a couple of more rounds as well. Indeed. You took the words out of my mouth about Droopy's Harbour. She ran a different type tonight. There was no question last week, she just got lost. First run out of yawl in quite a while, and sort of going into the corner, there were dogs around her, she didn't know what to be doing. As you say, she has 28.19 here at Shelbourne Park. If she hits the lids, she's one to keep an eye on at a price if she was in trap sort of 1, 2 or 3 next week. Massive, yeah. I'm waiting for her. She was actually the one coming up here last week that I wanted to see the most. Her clocks and yaw were ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen them types of clock consistently down there, and like, she's got blistering early pace, and if she gets a decent draw next week and she starts, she won't be far away. Looking forward to Saturday? Can't wait for Saturday now. We've obviously got Claire's Rocket out, and my dad's big tour out as well, so I cannot wait. Indeed, early days in the BoyleSports Irish Derby. We've already seen some brilliant racing and more to come. Join us for the next session of second round heats at the BoyleSports Irish Derby on Saturday night.